Hey folks, it is November the 16th, and we're going over the second half of chapter 19, and that has to do with the founding of Rome. This mostly has to do with a little bit on the family matters of Roman people, but also their early government back when they were ruled by kings. And so the terms we have on the board are family, patricians, plebeians, government, and Romulus, as in the death of Romulus. And so giving the kids in class a couple of moments, and then we'll begin. Wow, that's way too loud. Sorry about that. I used a computer timer and said, I'm going to turn the volume way down. And this time, could you spend a few minutes discussing the terms on the board with your neighbor? We have Roman families, patricians, plebeians, their government, and the end of Romulus. So you may begin. Start. So that was way too squeaky and loud. Jonas, I'm sorry, you're gonna put that up. I love the voice.
What?
That would be neat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was much more gentle.
Yeah.
Hey, sad to say, I don't really have too many images for this part because it's mostly about systems. It's not really about like people or events and things like that. So, so like your book said, the Roman family is centered around the idea of the father, the paterfamilia. We're going to come across that term many times. Whenever you think about the paterfamilia, think about it as in the whole legal system of the Roman people is essentially the idea of a family. And you find this throughout like societies and out in the whole world. Whereas essentially your city, your neighborhood, your country, hey, Jaden, can you turn around? Everything is just an extension like a larger family. But the Roman family is, of course, centered around the father figure.
I would do that.
Why aren't you sitting over here like I told you last week?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and fix that right now.
That's fine.
So, okay. So the father figure has all legal authority. The father figure is like has life and death. Like he just can judge the jury, and if he wants to be the executioner of every member of his family. And that's extended to an extended family called the clientele. And so like the clients are people who are like the poor people who work for like a richer family. And so the father of a rich family is essentially also considered like the legal authority over like his freedmen, their slaves, people who he has influence over, people he rents things to, stuff like that. So if you want like an image in your head as far as how to think of it like as the mafia. So like
Irish mafia.
so like the mob has to do with you have like the godfather of the family. And the godfather has like authority over everybody in the mob. That's kind of like it's a very Italian idea. The same thing has to do for like these different clans within Rome. Sometimes these clans fight one another. Sometimes they band together to where you have the patricians, the aristocracy, their nobles, and this is where Europe is going to get nobility, such as dukes and barons and counts and things like that. Is from the Roman idea of the patrician. All of these things that we're going to find in the Middle Ages next year are going to have Roman roots. They're essentially going to be Romanized ideas that are going to get bigger and bigger. Okay, you have to wait till we start getting that. Okay. So the patricians are the nobility. The plebeians are the peasant class. They can also be freedmen. A plebeian can be richer than a patrician. It has nothing to do with wealth. But a plebeian is essentially somebody who lives in Rome but doesn't have Roman citizen rights. They're not considered to be the upper class. Of course, they also had slave class. The slave class is going to start out as pretty small, but as Rome expands as an empire, it's going to start where you're going to find that most of the people who live in Rome are actually going to be slaves. There's going to be so many enslaved people in the Roman Empire at one point that free people will never be able to find work. So you're going to have free people in Rome. They're going to face starvation, loss of their property, stuff like that. Yeah, just put it on. You don't have to like massage the cleaning ball. All right.
I'm caressing.
Yeah, it's creepy. All right. But it's going to be a big problem later on. Their government starts out kind of like our government. You have an executive branch and you have what's called a bicameral legislature. That means it has two houses. They have the Comitia Curia and they have the Senate. And Senate comes from, of course, the Latin word senex, which is old man. Senex. So it's like the council of old men.
Coach John.
Bueno, we use.
No, we're not. We're not talking about behavioral myth. And of course, the king at top. The king is the executive branch. He's the one who's supposed to do. Like I told you in the past, kings are usually a mixture between a priest and a general. That's how they usually are in ancient societies. They're the person who's in charge of the religion. They're also the person in charge of war. You find this with the Romans. It's the same thing in Mesopotamia. It's the same thing if you go to South America during the Inca time, or if you go up to like Mexico, when you talk about the Aztecs or the Mayans. Well, yeah, Romulus is going to become a king.
Yeah, the
And-
Aztecs, and then what's his name? Confucius. Wait,
Confucius was the king.
I'm not talking about the Aztecs.
Confucius was the Aztec. He is Chinese.
I
You talking about Montezuma?
Confucius said.
Like,
I was in fourth grade. We had that. Remember that play when you were in fourth grade?
yeah,
Remember that play in the old school building?
yeah. I remember. Yeah, I was a little confused
So it's not.
because I was there.
And she kept yelling at me to remember. She was like, if you don't remember your lines, then I have another person that's already memorized those lines and you keep going through.
Oh yeah, you were confused.
She just started to kick me out of the spot.
I remember meeting
And
a
then-
big
and
mouth.
then-
I forgot.
Remember,
Like ate a McDonald's burger on the ground.
fourth and fifth grade were the best years
Hilarious.
Best years.
at Tyler Classical Academy.
Okay, yeah, at the old Roach Motel.
Yes.
All right, and so Romulus.
Remember the cafeteria?
Another thing too, well, I'll get back to this. So when Romulus passes away, this is something we're going to find that's going to happen later on with other big Romans. The Roman people are going to be so in love with them, they make them into a god. And you're going to see this happen with Caesar and various other Roman emperors as they pass along. They're going to be called deified, right? So you're going to make them into people that are worthy of worship. And it's going to be these Caesars who become Roman gods that the Romans are going to have burning incense for. And this is where early Christians are going to run into trouble with the Roman government, because where they deify these Caesars, part of your public duty is to burn incense and offer small sacrifices for like Julius Caesar, Caesar Augustus, so on and so forth. And if you don't do that, you're seen as being a traitor to Rome. Christians and Jewish people refused to do this. So they were often persecuted, and executed and stuff like that, because they were seen as rebelling against the Roman government. So we see the beginning here way back in ancient prehistory for the Roman people. So
Is this the second half?
yes, sir, this is the second half. Hey, all right, kids, let's go and get our notes for this. So family, what we're going to talk more about Roman family later, but from a glimpse, what do we know about it so far?
The dad's like the leader. Can do anything like he wants. Like
Basically.
Yes,
Dad is leader.
kill the kids or sell them.
Ruled by the father.
The
Father.
Fat, yeah. And this is where we get the word father from. It's a Latin cognate. Cognate is from cognatio. It means same birth in Latin. And so like pater will eventually become father.
Up there. Potter.
Caecilius
Walter.
in Porto.
Peter.
Caecilius consumus in
Oh, I thought that's a
Porto.
Peter.
No. Power over life and death. And so, the Roman father determined everything. Who the kids would marry, if they would get money, if they'd get education. The father had rights over all property. He was the only one who was allowed to go to court, things like that. It was like every single bit of power
What
was
if the
around
father
the father.
died? What would happen?
If the father died, it would go to the eldest son if he was old enough. If not, it would go to like an uncle or something
What
like
about the
that.
Maltair?
The mother, yeah, the
You think
mother.
women have rights? Ha!
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
the Roman motherhood. We're going to talk about that a bit later. But it's gonna. Hey, do you want to answer? You're just gonna talk.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Then stop talking. All right. So like Roman motherhood was mostly about like bearing strong children, right? And so like Roman kids, the culture was to really, really, really love their mother, be willing to do whatever she said and die for her. But that's just for your mother. Any other woman you don't really care about. You know, it was like you love your mommy, but other people's mommies, what do you care? You know, it's like so it's kind of like that. Yeah.
My mom.
But the dad, on the other hand, he might
Everyone loves everyone.
revere his mom, but his wife, and she's just like whatever. It's just going.
What about your grandma? Do you love your grandma?
I would imagine so. By
Do
extension.
you love your
I
grandma?
don't think they.
Of course they do. Of course.
They want me to you're gonna take me to a birthday dinner.
All right. So
I'm going.
now we're talking about something a little different from family. What were the patricians?
They were the leaders of like the patriarchs in
Yeah.
of Rome.
They were the noble, or we'll say nobility of Rome. Certain families
I'm where Joshua Smith.
I want to find out Joshua.
Why not? I love his trade.
who held
Did I say certain families?
all of the power.
Did I say certain families?
I was just saying it to you.
Oh, because you were singing N.
I see. So nobility of Rome. There were certain families who held all of the power. And we're going to find later on the story of early Rome, the Roman Republic, is a conflict between these two people, the patricians and the plebeians. There's always going to be like a give and take as far as like who's in power of Rome. The plebeians do most of the work, and they also make up the biggest number. However, the patricians have they have all the control, they have all the tradition, and they have most of the wealth behind them as well. Yeah.
Now, can I sharpen my pencil?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but when I'm like talking to everybody, that's a bad time.
I don't miss Ray sharpening like that. Bridget.
All right, so
Reach high.
if the patricians were the nobility, here are the plebeians.
The poor.
The poor, yeah.
Common
The
people.
plebs.
The plebs, yeah. So yeah, they were the common folk. The poor, free, common Romans. Anything else about them?
They're poor.
They could be they like it wasn't like wealth that determined their status.
Yes, yes. Did most of the work.
Who did he say didn't?
But could be rich. And see, your book did another good point that Europe's going to inherit into the Middle Ages, into its nobility. The idea that the patricians own almost all the land. And so the noble way to make money is to have great big plantations and have people work on these plantations or these villa and make you money. So
like
you're making
slavery.
it off money. It kind of, but at first it's you have free people doing it for money.
No, it's indentured.
And then they just
Not
kidnap
yet.
people.
Not yet.
Work for me.
We'll get
So
to
the thing is, though, here's the point. The point is like if you're a noble person of high birth, you make good, clean money off of the land. However, somebody who does so off of trade, off of creating something like a good and selling it,
You're such a bad person.
yeah, it's seen as
How dare
dirty
you
money.
make goods and services for this country?
This is going to be passed on through the Middle Ages.
Well, it depends
It's not
on
a
what
word.
they create. What did they create?
But could
Like,
but could
what if they
rich-
just made like a statue or something? It's like,
Well, here. So maybe I'll answer your questions like this. So Yeah, these people, they could be merchants. They could be like potters, carpenters, stuff like that. Some of them could also be accountants, and they could get quite wealthy as bankers. This is going to move on to the Middle Ages. The nobility of the Middle Ages will also own all the land, and that will be seen in their view as the good way to make money. However,
So it's like real estate versus like goods and services.
yes, or manufacturing. However, here you're going to have most manufacturing is in the Middle Ages going to be done in the cities by very few people. They're going to be looked down upon as making dirty money.
What do
Another
you mean?
thing too is that a lot of things like banking is only going to be done by Jewish people because of the laws that are going to be on the books throughout most of Europe. This is going to help create. It's going to foster a poor view of Jewish people as being greedy and stuff like that over time.
Yeah, like in the Bible, tax collectors are literally like everywhere.
Well, in medieval Europe, you're also going to have laws against what we call usury. That's like having interest on a loan. And that was against the law for Christians, but not for Jewish people. And so a lot of people who would get loans, they could only get them from Jewish people, and they would view them as very greedy because people just naturally hate bankers, you know. And so that's going to lead to one of the many things that's going to cause anti-Semitism, which is a very common thing in Europe. In fact, it's coming back now. There's a lot of Jewish people in Europe right now who are facing anti-Semitism that hasn't been seen in a long time. So there's certain forms of hatred that just seem to keep coming back.
Don't hate people. Why would you?
That would be nice. All right, so government. So who was at the top of the Roman government?
Romans.
The emperors. Romulus.
No emperor yet.
The king.
No imperator. Yes. And how do you say king in Latin?
I don't know.
We haven't learned that yet.
It's rex. Led by a king.
Did he say Felix?
The rex. So rex regis.
Oh my God.
Rex.
What up, Rex?
So how do you
T-Rex?
say queen in Latin?
Probably Zex,
Regina.
Quex.
So led by a king. And what was the king's job? What was the king's job?
Keep like
To
it's
keep
like
everybody protected.
lead the army during war and keep keep the city working.
Like, he was also like the Pope.
Yeah, he also was the pope.
We'll get to that later. Yeah. So he was both priest and ruler. So yeah, good job. Okay, what was the Council of Elders called?
The Senate.
The old men gang.
Laws must be. You know another way to say old man in Latin? Veteris. It's where we get the word veteran from.
No, Senate sounds better.
Okay.
Senate, you're
Old
Senate.
So you can do
Approved
like
by
22.
We don't be.
the Senate. Who can propose the laws?
What's that thing? It was like a weird word. It was a weird
2 words. Laws
It
promoted
was
by.
like started with an A and a C. You had a C in the name. That's all I remember. I'm looking, and my pages are all falling out.
There's no line.
Luckily, I'm not having to give this book back.
Mitis.
It's what chapter is this? XX. Okay.
Is it Commutis Curia?
Kamita Curia. Yes. Kamita.
Give it to you.
Okay, so
That sounds like the community.
yeah, it's like Curia, it's council. Comita committee. So it's like council committee or committee of counselors. Well, see, this is also Comita. Look here, y'all should know this. Y'all have been in Latin for like almost half a year.
It's not like you just tell our teacher what we need to learn. Like it's not our.
Look, comita. This is feminine nominative. So you know this is, and look, this is possessive. So this means the diphthong AE is I sound. So you know that means of. So the committee of the council. Come on, Latinist.
It's spelled committee.
Okay.
By committee.
So there's an IA.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't change the fact that there's an A at the end there. And so it's still first declension, feminine, nominative. And nominative, of course, is the direct object, and this is possessive. So,
And the
Okay.
other word is curia.
curiata. In that case,
Yeah.
what that means is that what we have here is we have the nominative noun. This is also nominative, but because it falls afterwards, it's going to act as an adjective modifying this.
Why do M's like
So-
that?
When
I'm
did they
not
switch
Latin
to
kids.
emperors? When
Huh?
When did Rome switch to emperors and why?
Oh, they're not going to switch to emperors until after the death of Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
You're going to have the
Because they're
Civil
like-
War.
They're gonna think Julius is trying to just start an emperor, like make himself an emperor,
They
or
probably
killing him, but by killing him, they start the dictatorship.
We got a lot of videos on that, so it's going to be fun. Hey, all right, so Romulus is at the end of his rope. What magical, mystical thing happens?
He just
He gets a
disappears.
vision about Rome.
I really doubt that he disappeared. I think he
He
just
probably
ran away
puffed
for the
something.
effect. Like when it was dark, he just like booked it.
He probably puffed paint or something.
No.
What if he was kidnapped? and there
So
was
he
a game?
vanished in a dark thunderstorm.
That's in his style.
And so what did the Romans do?
Worship him as a god
Yeah,
Because he got his
Romans
vision.
because he disappeared.
then worshipped him.
What if he was just kidnapped?
Yeah.
Well-
he just-
Did this actually happen?
Of course not. Don't worry. Don't worry. The sky people didn't come down and swoop them away up to the mountaintop.
what if it was like a bird,
Supposedly.
a giant?
Oh, I can't take a picture. I'm going to have to use my computer to take a picture of it later. Hey, all right, kids. I'm going to post the notes a little late today.
Ooh,
Yeah, I can take a picture with my iPad and pass it to your computer.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just use this. All right. Tomorrow we're going to go over the next chapter. And so let me think. We're not going to have a test or a quiz this week. We are going to have a primary source reading we're going to do on Thursday and Friday.
Again?
Yeah, part 207. So if you finish Thursday, you won't have to do it Friday. And all that good stuff. Don't forget, progress reports are going to come out this week. So if you're late on something on any of your classes, go ahead and get that in. Talk to you later, kids.
May I go to the-
We should do a project.
No.